Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news, some rumors that have stated that Herschend Family Entertainment might be the front runners here to either outright buy or at least manage the park known as Kentucky Kingdom. Now, even when we say the word buy, Danny, I think there's a big asterisk there because
not actually by, still owned by the Kentucky State Fair Board perpetually.
Exactly. So I don't think we're going to see a transfer of ownership from the State Fair Board to any other company. But it does sound, based on a number of different articles, that the group currently running the park, led by Ed Hart, is experiencing extreme financial difficulties because of the pandemic, because of low attendance numbers from last year. I'm not even sure how open the park was last year. I'm sure it was open a little bit, but very low attendance has put them into a financial situation. And they started shopping around the park. And it seems like Herschend Family Entertainment is the front runner based on this article, because Ed Hart's saying that it's a company that has multiple other parks. He said something like 9 other parks, which would kind of fit into the Herschend model because they run a few big parks.
Well, and there were some teasers going around that had some maps, and it had dots by all the Herschend properties, and then it had the maple leaf in the corner, and then which is the Herschend Family Entertainment logo. If you actually go to Dollywood.com, I think sometimes the tab has the little leaf on there. If you go through Dollywood, it has the butterfly. But depending on which part of the site you navigate to, you can see you can see the little leaf. So, and that image was since removed, but all signs are pointing to Herschend, of course.
Well, and here's the thing. So a lot of people are getting overhyped about this, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but, well,
the apology line is going to start here in about 4 years.
So, one, the expectation that Kentucky Kingdom, that is going to magically become something like Silver Dollar City or something like Dollywood, I just think is unrealistic. The park just doesn't have that type of charm. They would have to literally pour tens of millions of dollars into Kentucky Kingdom.
And you can't buy that charm. No. That charm is either there or it's not. Look at the example that you and I like to use is Worlds of Fun and Dorney Park. Look at the ride lineups. They're almost identical, right? You've got Thunderhawk and Timberwolf. You've got Mamba, Steel Force. You've got Talon, Patriot. You've got nearly identical ride lineups. Worlds of Fun has a ton of charm, and Dorney Park, I like Dorney Park. I work there. It's my home park, very clean, rarely ever long lines, but there's no theme. There's no real charm. It's just a nice amusement park where Worlds of Fun has all these little nice details and light theming that gives it that charm and that little bit. And Kentucky Kingdom has none of that.
So I think what we should be looking at more for comparison's sake, a lot of people have said Wild Adventure. And Wild Adventure, I've been there, you have not been. Wild Adventure has a lot of charm to it too.
And I learned about 10 minutes ago that there's probably one less reason to go to Wild Adventures. It's been on my list for a while just because it's kind of like the biggest park in the U.S. that I haven't been to yet. But we kind of had this idea. So Herschend acquired Wild Adventures at the end of 2007. September 2007, when the previous owner went bankrupt. The group that owned Cypress Gardens as well, right? So let's start from 2007 and let's talk about what Herschend did, okay? Of the existing roller coasters, the only one that still remains, 2019, they opened Swampwater Snake, which is the little Fiesta Express. It's just about the tiniest roller coaster you could ever do. And Andy, let's say this, it ran from 2003 to 2011 as Fiesta Express, and then they put it in storage for 8 years, and they've now brought it back. So they didn't even buy that ride. They already had it, okay? So that's it. The remaining rides, Outpost Express, 2000, Boomerang, 1998, Go Bananas, 2000, Swamp Thing, 2003, Twisted Typhoon, 1999. Some of you might be saying, well, what about Cheetah, the big wood coaster? we learned preparing for the show that apparently last month they announced that Cheetah's gone and that they're retiring it. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, in the 2020, it sat dormant for 2020. But then in 2021, January 2021, apparently the park confirmed its retirement. So Cheetah's no more. So,
well, I will shed no tears over, even though I think that was like my 450th coaster or something like that. I don't even know.
Well, we heard it was terrible.
No, it's so rough. But that was a coaster that I thought could have been RMC. I don't know how effective of an RMC it would have been, but it might have been interesting to see what they could have done with that. It's a really cool track. It's a cool track layout in the area because you have the safari like on both sides of it. So you have that going for it because they do have a train that goes through the safari. But the thing was rough. It was almost as rough as Gwazi was at the end there. It had
I just got chills when you said that.
It had those terrible trains on it. Those are the
Gerstlauer trains. The boss has those to this day. You know what other awful defunct wood coaster had those damn trains? The CCI was the Villain at Geauga Lake, and that was I rode that in its final few months of existence, and God, I have my on-ride photo with my dad and I riding the Villain, and you can see like we're gritting our teeth in the photo. It's that rough, and the photo was at a smooth part of the ride.
Yeah. So back to this story. I don't think we should be expecting any new roller coasters.
But let's look at all the rides they tore out aside from Cheetah. In 2009, they took out 4 different attractions, including a Chaos, an Inverter, both Chance rides. They took out the Chance rides. They just ripped out all the Chance ride stuff. They took out the Scream and Swing as soon as they bought the park at the end of 2007, sold it to Fun Spot. They took out the Tiger Terror Kitty coaster. So they took out 2 kiddie coasters in 2 years, and they took out one of the coasters to replace it with Viking Voyage, which was the ride from Celebration City. And then they closed that in 2018 and sent that off to Fun Spot Kissimmee after it was in storage. This one says that it was okay. Maybe this is inaccurate. Does Fun Spot Kissimmee have the Myler coaster now, or is this just inaccurate?
I thought that went to. I thought
it says that it says that it went to Atlanta for storage, and then went to Fun Spot. Yeah, so Fun Spot Atlanta as unknown, and then Fun Spot America in Kissimmee as Hurricane in 2019. So so they sold it to Fun Spot Atlanta. So does the Fun Spot Atlanta one have a different one? Where the hell did that one come from? Hold on. Now I got to figure this out. What is it? The Screaming Eagle, that one came from Wild Island, wherever the hell that is. Oh, Nevada. Sparks, Nevada. Okay, anyways. A tangent completed. So the takeaway here is they've taken out a bunch of stuff and they've put in nothing. and the one thing that they did put in, they've already taken out again.
Now, Danny. Okay, so if you don't like the Wild Adventure comparison, maybe.
But Wild Adventures has never gotten a lot of love. That's always been a pretty stagnant park. So, Andy, what about another park that everybody's talking about that actually does have a recent addition?
And that park would be Darien Lake. That people forget this all the time. That Herschend Family Entertainment did not own, but managed Darien Lake from 2011 was it?
2011 to 2014. Okay, so in that time frame, here's what was done. They opened up Rowdy's Ridge, which is the Moose on the Loose area, a couple of small rides,
which is a very Herschend thing to do. But,
it's a very Herschend. It's very
doesn't Nugget Kingdom already have one of those, the Moose on the Loose? So
I think they do. You might be right.
So they can't do that again. So that's all.
So they opened that in 2012 with a couple of family rides. In 2013, they put in Blast Off, which is their SNS space shot. They didn't buy that. Well, they bought that from Alabama Adventure when Alabama Adventure closed the first time. They did some renovations to the carousel and the Ferris wheel. They put in some new restaurants. They sort of redid their nighttime show, Ignite the Night. They took out the Cuda Falls water slides. They took out the UFO, which was one of the last remaining rides of its type. They brought back the Scrambler after a 2-year renovation / storage time. As far as coasters go, they did nothing. They took over the park in 2011. The most recent coaster from there was the Moto coaster, which was already 3 years old. And Tantrum didn't go until 2018, which is under was Premier Parks, and then most recently Six Flags took over operational rights. There
were rumors that they were gonna RMC Predator or do something to Predator.
They were gonna do a Topper Track redo. They were gonna Iron Horse it with Topper Track, is what it sounded like. It was gonna be the first ride that had that. I even got a season pass holder survey about that, and
what was the name of that? Was that like Swamp Monster or something?
It was going to be Lake Monster, is what they were going to call it. They had pictures of Hades 360 and Outlaw Run on there, so it was very obviously going to be Topper Track, and then that just didn't happen at all. And that was while I was in college, so that was in the 2011 to 2014 timeframe, and I was a pass holder, I think, in 2012, and I was doing my summer co-ops out in the Buffalo area in 2012, 2013 timeframe. So I actually got to the park a lot. I would go for a few hours after work because it was only about a half an hour away to just ride some rides. And that's about the time that was being discussed. And then pretty clearly that didn't work out because they stopped managing it a year or two later.
Yeah,
so
clearly maybe they knew that this wasn't for us and we're just going to head for the hills, and why invest money here, you know?
Well, and then I remember, as part of the Darien Lake thing, coming with that was also Elitch Gardens, which has done nothing. So in 2011, CNL appointed Herschend Family Entertainment as the new operators of Elitch Gardens. They added a pro slide, water slide. They did a rock and tug. They did tight bikes in a kiddie area. And then only 2 years later, Herschend got out of there in 2013, and CNL took it back over. And then a year later, Darien Lake, they got out of Darien Lake, and then they both went over to Premier Parks.
Well, and that's why the purchase versus managing debate here is very important, because it seems like Herschend, when they manage something, if it doesn't,
they don't do anything.
If it doesn't turn around quickly, they cut and run. So if they purchase this, now they've owned Wild Adventure since 2007. So they've owned that for quite some time now. But we still don't see heavy investment in either of those scenarios. And I just don't think that Kentucky Kingdom, if they're running on such tight margins, that that they're in this situation to begin with. And let's not mince words here either. They're kind of in this situation because Kentucky Kingdom has always believed in, I need to install a new ride every single year, even at the expense of the bottom line sometimes. That's what got them into trouble the first time around with Six Flags, is that they hit the economic downturn of 2008. And then by 2010, Six Flags said, we're done here. And that they took everything with them. And now we're back here in 2021 and the economic downturn of 2020 with those same types of investments. Now, not nearly as much. They're not installing B&M coasters. They're installing, RMC redos and chance coasters and little stuff,
gravity groups and stuff like that.
Little stuff here and there. But hey, this is still an investment and it still costs money. So I guess the question is how much is Herschend just taking this over as, hey, they have a nice season pass base. There might be that they do make money, that before 2020, the park was turning a profit. And maybe Herschend thinks that they can, continue that without having to invest a whole lot of money to keep that. I do not see them dropping millions and millions of dollars into Kentucky Kingdom. I just don't see that happening.
No, I don't either. I mean, maybe is the logic here that similar to Wild Adventures, where if you have a Dollywood season pass, you get like a discounted tickets to Wild Adventures? Like, is this going to turn into one of those where they're going to try and get some come along visitors from Dollywood or Silver Dollar City? Because I mean, those parks aren't that close to Louisville.
No, and they don't, and Herschend doesn't have that all-encompassing pass And I don't see them doing that because their tickets are so expensive to begin with. You know, how much
the parks are kind of too far apart to do that. I mean, Cedar Fair, there's a benefit to that because they have so many parks.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like, and Six Flags has so many parks, and they've got a lot of parks that are in different areas, like New England, Great Adventure, and then like Great Escape and LaRon. Like, I mean, they're all within a couple hours of each other. You know, Six Flags America isn't much further, and then you get down into Georgia. You know, you got the Texas parks, you got the California parks. You know, Great America and St. Louis kind of make some sense. Cedar Fair's got some similar groupings there, but Herschend, it's kind of weird because they have one grouping, but they're not like close groupings. And there's not really anything common that kind of pulls them together. I mean, if Dollywood and Silver Dollar City were closer to each other, they might have that pass already, but there's a reason they don't, right?
Yeah. And I could see Herschend pulling rides out of Kentucky Kingdom right away. That you look at something like T3 that's almost universally hated by everyone. And that's right in that area where, you know, Kentucky Kingdom has been a very water park heavy place since its reopening. And that's actually the nicest part of the park is the water park. And T3's right there. You pull out T3, add some slides back there. Like you have to walk past water slides to get to T3. So it makes sense to pull out.
And on the other side of T3, you have to walk by a massive rapids ride that's almost never open. And you have to walk by an empty field and a giant concrete slab that's got a Larson loop on it now. And there's just like something screaming to be done back there.
Well, and that's the thing is then you have that whole Thunder Run area with the roller skater on that path back to Thunder Run and then eventually out to Storm Chaser, where maybe that
roller skater area with the Flying Dutchman. I mean, that looks fine. I mean, I'm okay with that area, but that Storm Chaser area back there.
That's actually like the most theme. Like I've always said that the front of Kentucky Kingdom, before you go over the road, the front of Kentucky Kingdom almost strikes me as like a carnival like atmosphere. Everything's kind of like on top of each other. It's ride, just thrown on this trail. And then you get to the back part with the roller skater and the Flying Dutchman. And that's when you start getting that feel of a theme park. And I could see them maybe making that more prominent with a dry side of the park on your way back to Storm Chaser, maybe adding another roller coaster back there, getting rid of T3, using that. And then you got Kentucky Flyer out of what was that called? Kentucky Flyer? I don't even know.
Yeah, Kentucky Flyer, which is just weirdly nestled over on the other side of the park behind all the water slides.
Yeah, it just doesn't the whole flow of the park is just poorly designed, poorly laid out.
And something I'm worried about, because this was a big part of our day at Kentucky Kingdom when we went a couple years ago for the Coaster Crew event. Kentucky Kingdom actually had a very nice alcohol selection at the bar next to Kentucky Flyer. And if Herschend comes in, who knows? I hope the bar options don't go away because that's the only way I can fill half a day at that bar.
I got news for you. They don't have alcohol at Dollywood or Silver Dollar City. Do you remember if they had it at Darien Lake when you were there?
I'm pretty sure they do.
They do. So it might not.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just I don't know about Wild Adventure. I don't recall.
But you got to remember too, when they owned it 2011 to 2014, that was my early college days. So I was only 18, 19, 20. I wasn't of drinking age until 2013. So, and most of the time I was driving myself. So I wouldn't have been even inclined to purchase alcohol at that time. Because I wasn't there.
I'm just looking at the dining options on Wild Adventure, and I could be wrong, but I don't see anything that really strikes me as having alcohol. And maybe this might be the place. No,
that'll be interesting. That's
gonna be a big thing because didn't they let people in with coolers into Kentucky Kingdom?
I thought you could, yeah.
To sit in the water park, that was like drinking seemed to be like they built that whole big bar, like you could.
They have a massive bar area with like local brews and everything. They had some really good ciders. We sampled a couple different types of drinks. They had some good IPAs. We after our ERT on Kentucky Flyer and a few laps on Storm Chaser, last time. I think we sat down at the bar at something like 11:30 in the morning. Like it wasn't even noon yet, and we were drinking already.
Like it's kind of crazy to me because like I feel like that's a big part of what Kentucky Kingdom has sold people on, and those season pass holders, and that's probably a big part of their profit margin. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually keep that aspect, because it's very likely that they might not, because it's a Christian. Herschend is a very Christian organization. It's called Herschend Family Entertainment for a reason, not Herschend whatever entertainment. So.
Well, we'll have to see here, but I hope we're wrong. I hope that they pump some money into it, and there's some good rides and some good attractions, and maybe some of those area of the parks that are not too enticing, I guess, or not too beautiful, not too beautified yet, or whatever word you want to use for it there. Hopefully they do something. Because I think
here's your answer. At Wild Adventure, alcohol is not served or permitted in the park. So
wow. See, I wouldn't have guessed that, being in like southern Georgia. Like I certainly would have thought that
it's in the FAQ. It's one of the questions. So.
Wow.
So yeah, there you go.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see as well. So I don't know. Hopefully we're wrong. I mean, I think you and I agree that there's space to do some good stuff at Kentucky Kingdom. I just don't think we've gotten it yet.
Hey, maybe they can RMC Storm Chaser correctly.
Hey, now there's an idea. Or maybe they can put in a good Storm Chaser, like a Windseeker type deal.
Yeah. Oh, well, the best Storm Chaser I know at Adventureland. There it is. So that is the best Storm Chaser I've ever been on. So we will keep you updated here about what's going on at Kentucky Kingdom. As always, I'm Andy Robarczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
See you next time, guys.